Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Context. We have a fantastic show for you today. I am joined by Lynn Sun from Solo.io. She's going to be talking to us about Agent Gateway, so it should be a very exciting day. We're going to talk about the AIF's newest project. I also have today, Darren is traveling, so Craig Jellick is sitting in for him. Craig is the head of engineering here at OBOT, so he's going to join the conversation and ask, I'm sure, plenty of great, insightful engineering-like questions about Agent Gateway. For everybody who is who's joining us for the first time, The Context is a regular web show that we go into the ecosystem around the AIF and the MCP ecosystem. So we're talking always about agents and how they connect to systems and data and applications. We have been, the AIF is on a roll right now. We've got a ton of exciting new projects. We've got the latest update to MCP, and we are on a massive world tour in the second half of this year. We still have 7 events coming up. So if you are anywhere in the world, you probably have an AIF event within a 2 or 3 hour flight if you want to come and get involved in this ecosystem. Today, literally, we're kicking off the Seoul event. It's probably already dead for the day now. So they've been over in Seoul introducing MCP and AIF and all sorts of projects there. Next month, we are going to be in Shanghai and Tokyo. I'll be at both of those as well as Amsterdam. So we have sort of a busy September before everything ships back to North America in October for our Toronto and San Jose events. So lots of events, lots of places to get involved, lots of places to learn and talk about this ecosystem that's developing around open source technology for agentic AI. And so hopefully you'll join us at one of those and come learn. There's some great speakers, great talks coming up as well. The context has been on just been busy as always. If you haven't made it to any of our recent shows, we've had some great recent talks from Liad Yosef, one of the founders of MCP, not MCP, but the MCP. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it. Craig, what's the MCP?
MCP
UI?
app?
MCP apps.
MCP UI, MCP apps. Oh my gosh, I was losing my brain. Yeah, we had a great talk from Liad. He was talking about his new company a couple weeks ago. We had David on just before, I think 2 weeks ago, where he was talking about the latest spec. So lots of great talks, lots of great content. Please come find us. We also are always looking for speakers. If you're interested in presenting your project, if you're interested in showing what your organization is doing with the tools of the ecosystem, we'd love to hear it. So lots of great work going on out there. So with that, no further ado, let's get into today's talk. So Lynn Sun is the head of open source at Solo.io. She is also a contributor to Agent Gateway. If you're not familiar with Agent Gateway, it's one of the newest projects here at the AIF. And she's going to be talking about what it is. What is Agent Gateway? How do you consume it? What can it do around security and observability and governance for MCP servers and potentially other pieces of technology? So, Lynn, wonderful to have you here. I know you're joining us from Raleigh. Thanks so much for taking the time today to talk.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you for having me. It's funny you talk about the events. So I will personally be in Tokyo, Amsterdam, and San Jose, hopefully to meet you all there. With that, do you want to bring up my screen?
I do. There you go. You are live.
All right. Perfect. Let me know if you can see my slides.
Everything looks great.
All right, perfect. So we're going to talk about Agent Gateway today, which is a unified gateway, not only for traditional microservices, but also for large language model traffic, MCP and A2A traffic. We actually started this gateway just last year, and we were asking ourselves, do we actually need another gateway? There's so many gateways there, right? And Envoy was very much rising and winning in the cloud native world for microservices. So we actually started looking at Envoy very hard before we looking at start a new project, and we want to really evaluate as a company. We had a lot of investment in Envoy and a lot of expertise also in Envoy. So we look at Envoy, and then what we find out though, because Envoy was created almost 7-8 years ago, it wasn't having any of the AI protocol in mind back then. And in order for Envoy to support some of the modern protocols, it does require a major architectural change of Envoy, which is possible, but we didn't want to, wait for long in the words of in the digital era of AI when everything moving so fast. That's how we started with Agent Gateway, and we still remember the founder of Envoy, which was Matt Klein, and he actually said a couple of years ago, if he would rewrite Envoy, he would prefer to use Rust. That was another motivation for us to redo another project in a different language like Rust, because a lot of benefits with Rust. So in a nutshell, you probably all know agents are distributed system. They need more than request routing. They need to be able to handle governance and tool access. They need to support for authorization, authentication across AI and traditional services. They need to figure out what's going on with observability and also security for the context layer. And these are the problems we working with a lot of our customer, and they hit in productions. So we thought about separate AI and API, traditional API gateways. And then we realized that means it's management layer for everything, duplicate config, duplicate gateways. So we decided it makes sense to combine a single gateway to serve not only AI and also traditional API gateway traffic. This is how Agent Gateway was born. It's actually a relatively young project. We started this project probably somewhere around late March, early April last year. And it's just been a little bit over a year. So it's just graduated out of a 1 year old. And it supports not only HTTP, gRPC, MCP, A2A, and large language model. One thing really interesting about Agent Gateway, though, it can provide federation among multiple MCP server, multiple model provider. In the case of where everybody is thinking about cost for the large language model, Agent Gateway can provide seamless failover between different large language model, and also be able to have semantic routing between the model and try to save users costs and sending some of the not so complex requests to some of the cheaper model. Building Rust, we talk about, how, Rust was important for us, not only for performance and memory save, but also because we actually have a lot of operation expertise on our team who is building from Istio. Is still ambient mode without the sidecar, with the zero trust tunnel. So we were able to reuse all the lessons we learned when we were building Istio ambient, and along with all the production at scale expertise we learned from Envoy, and we were able to fold all those expertise into Agent Gateway project, using some of the preferred library from Rust. The performance, Agent Gateway is probably the most performant gateway out there. We've done a lot of performance tests compared with different gateway, not only the gateways in Kubernetes, but also the gateways standalone, such as Agent Gateway was light LLM. In fact, I'm about to publish another performance report later today or tomorrow on the Rust-based light LLM with Agent Gateway, while Agent Gateway is still at somewhere between 10x more on throughput and 50x on memory in terms of saving. Now, Agent Gateway since early June is part of AAF, and I want to show the screen because this screen is actually outdated. It's funny, when I captured this in early June, you can see Agent Gateway only had 4 million downloads at that time. And interestingly, if I come here to LinkedIn, this is actually my special post when Agent Gateway joined the foundation. And most recently, just 5 days ago, I actually talk about Agent Gateway just reached 40 million total downloads since January this year. So you can see the curve actually changes quite dramatically. I think we had a couple of curve change, but most recently the curve changes around late May, early June. It's another curve of growth. So very, very excited about the projects. With that, I'm going to try to jump into a demo. Let's see if I can bring my environment. Can you see my Visual Studio Code? Yes.
Yes, I can. Yeah, it's up.
All right, perfect. So I have Olama running on my laptop. And with Olama, I have this model called Quinn already loaded. So Quinn 3, which I'm just using a local model for testing, but you can change that easily to with Anthropic or OpenAI. So in this environment, I'm going to start everything without Agent Gateway first, just to kind of you can see how this application works without Agent Gateway. So I'm going to hop into this terminal here and just making sure I'm setting up my environment variable correctly. I think it might already been set, but I don't remember. So I'm going to set it again. And I develop a very simple agent. And what this agent does is kind of asking what discussions are trending today related to AI. So I thought it's fun always because a few days ago when I was run this, it was returned to me like a discovery loop. So I'm anxious to see what's going to return. So you can see right now the agent is talking to my local model running with Olama, and it's talking to a trans server with stdio, and it has 3 tools with this model with the MCP server, and it's making 2 turns. I'm going to change this a little bit bigger, so hopefully you can see it a little bit better. All right, so there are 2 trends today. One is related to DeepSeek, and the other one is Codex for ChatGPT desktop for Linux is available in preview. Very nice. So we got that running, right? So this is good, but you don't have any visibility or governance control in this model. So what we're going to do is next is we're going to config Agent Gateway to sit in the middle between my trend agent to my large language model here. So this is a very simple Agent Gateway configuration. You can see I'm calling this model a Trend Pro, and it points back to my local Quen model. And, I'm specifying some of the basic policy to configure a Quarks policy here. So what I'm going to do is hop over here and try to start my Agent Gateway. By the way, I'm running on one of the newer Agent Gateway, which was just released I think 2 weeks ago, and it includes the support for the latest MCP July 28th update. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch my Agent Gateway with this 01 configuration. And you can see it starts very easily. And the one I'm running with standalone mode, but Agent Gateway can also running with Kubernetes using standard Kubernetes Gateway API to program Agent Gateway. All right, so we have the traffic. We have the Agent Gateway running, but in order for us to hit the endpoint through the Agent Gateway, we're going to make a small change here. So we already did this. We already launched this. We're going to change the base URL and the model to point what we config in the agent gateway, which is listening on 4000 on localhost. And we're going to ask the same question. What discussions are trending today? And we're hoping to kind of have the same output or similar output, because large language models sometimes are a little bit unpredictable, but just having agent gateway in the middle, we're hoping to get a lot of benefits. So far, if we hop into the UI here, you can see I have the model config, which is the Trend Pro. I have hopefully the analytics config. So you can see I did some testing before the live stream, but this is the new traffic just coming in with 1 p.m. my local time. You can see if I can actually change this to, I'm not sure if I can change this to an interview for an hour. Maybe that would show it better. Okay, last 1 hour. Apply. Right, so that was the traffic just coming in with 2,000, roughly 2,600 tokens, and I can also see my configuration right here, which is what I showed you early. I can also see the metrics. Hopefully that's working too. So this is all the metrics for that single request generated by the gateway, just having the client go through the agent gateway. And you can use this metric to generate a fancy graph, so enable your distributed tracing. So it's a very powerful metrics generated just by having it go through gateway. The next demo we want to show is, hop over here, is we want to show agent gateway with large language model configuration with local rate limiting, which is based on token. So hop over here. What we're going to do is we're going to exit this out, and we're going to call agent gateway with 02, which is the one with the token budget. And we're going to hop over here, and we're going to try to do another request like this. So because the budget, if you remember, the budget is about 5,000 for the token for 300 seconds. So we probably need to hit like two rounds of the agent to hit the token, if I would take a guess. So you can see that comes through pretty nicely. But the second one, I think we're probably going to hit the token. We'll see. Sometimes maybe it's on the second turn, not on the first turn, because the first, oh, actually it did run through this one too. So let me try it one more time. I'm pretty sure that's when we would hit the token limit. All right, looks like the token is doing the job. So if you go to the agent gateway log, now we should be able to see a 429, which is rate limiting reason, a exceeded reason for that. So that's how agent gateway can work with your large language model, pop out to the UI here. And then you can also specify like a virtual API keys. You can put guardrails on your large language model. This is very useful for prompt injection. In this case, we have a Quarks policy, a rate limiting policy, and back to the analytics here, you can see oh, I thought I changed this. That was the previous one. You can see we had a couple of other token requests coming in, and we have 9 total call. And back to the logs, you can actually see the 429 rate limited requests and a bunch of other 200 requests. All right, so that is a quick overview of our large language model support. We also have a nice playground, so you could play with it to play the request going through the large language model. The other example I want to show is MCP related. So we're going to jump into this MCP single. So in this case, we're going to point to our trans MCP server proxy through agent gateway. I know we're 20 minutes in, so I'll try to go fast on this one. So in this one, we are going to couple here. We're going to go ahead start agent gateway with this particular it's configs 03 MCP single, and hop over here. We're going to config our MCP. So do you remember before our MCP URL was point to the stdio endpoint? So in this case, we're going to point to the gateway, which is listening on the 3000 ports. So what I'm going to do is call our agent, not only the large language model through agent gateway, but also the MCP also through agent gateway. All right, so right now we have only 3 tools because we only have one MCP server, and we got the requests back, which is nice. But you're not going to have only one MCP server. So the other example I want to quickly show before we run out is you can also using multiplexing on your MCP server. So in this case, you can specify multiple MCP targets. In this case, I had not only the trans server, but also a workspace for writing out the summary of the interesting news, and also be able to publish it. So hop out to agent gateway prompt here. I'm going to start the agent gateway with this particular configuration with multiplexing. And hop over here, we're going to ask a little bit more complex question. We're going to ask, what's hot with the agentic AI? Okay, same question, but we're going to look at the token usage in this case. So you can see right now we have access to 10 tools, right? Because the 3 MCP server with multiplexing, instead of the models have access to 3 tools and the agent have access to 3 tools, we now have access to 10 tools, and it still returns similar results with a lot more tools. All right, so that's how multiplexing work to be able to have access to more tools. I actually have way more examples here, but I want to kind of show a UI here quickly so you can see we have an MCP tool playground where I can apply corks and initialize the handshake, and I can actually invoke any of the MCP server here. I can see the list of the tools. I can see also config. Just in the interest of the time, I'm just going to show some of the configuration because I'm not sure if I'll be able to have time to run through. Like in this example, I can filter the list of the tools based on some of the MCP authorization. In this case, I can say not all the tools I want to be visible. So if I launch this configuration instead, so if I do agent gateway -f configs 05 tool filtering, and if I hop over here, and if I refresh and if I initialize, I would expect less than 10 tools because I apply some of the auth policy on the agent gateway to kind of restrict the number of the tools I want to make available for the agents. This is particularly useful if I repeat the same request now. I would expect it would consume a little bit less token because the model only have access to A tools, so it would have less decision to make, which is pretty nice. Some of the other examples that I have, which I'm not sure if I have time to show. By the way, I just compare the tokens here, so you can see it's a little bit less than before. Uh, some of the other examples I'll show quickly here is we support credential injection, so you could specify your backend auth through key value pair. We support prompt guarding for not only large language model but also for MCP. So this could be useful as needed. We also support strict authentication and in addition to authorization, so you can do job-based auth where you can specify at the MCP layer that which method you want to make it available to which roles. So I'm going to take a pause here because to see if there's any questions.
I'm just adding this in. I mean, great demo so far. Honestly, Lynn, I think it'd be great to understand just a little bit about, right now, sort of like where does the roadmap look like for the project? I mean, you guys have been, the growth looks really impressive. There's a lot there. Where are you seeing, maybe before you even get to that, actually, like when you talk to users, like how are organizations using the project? I mean, obviously it has value as a single user trying to put this together, but what are companies doing with Agent Gateway?
That's a good question. Yeah, we actually just published a couple of user story around Agent Gateway. Do you want me to show that on the screen? If you give
Maybe
me
just
back
talk about it.
control.
I think it's fine if you just talk about it a little bit. If you
Okay,
don't mind. Just tell us what
so
they're doing.
yeah, I'll talk about it. So one of the user, we have a lot of users, but not all the user wants to talk things in public, as you know. So one of the user we recently worked with in the public was the largest financial organization in Norway, and they are using Agent Gateway and also K-Agent together. So basically they have agents running in Kubernetes to help them troubleshooting issues, to help them onboarding their new users. And when their agents talk to MCP server, they apply Agent Gateway in between their agents to MCP server, exactly like what I was showing, and use that to provide policy enforcement, security control, and they find out it was particularly useful for them and also very, very easy to use, which helps them to onboarding Agent Gateway into their production environment very fast. The other user we had, we just published a blog on that recently. I think it was yesterday. Is one of the largest tech company in China called iFlyTech. I think they had a lot of revenue every year, and they chose Agent Gateway to work with their Astral agent and some other agents they have in their platform. And they chose Agent. They actually interestingly said the reason they chose Agent Gateway as they evaluate some of the other gateways out there was Agent Gateway was natively written for MCP and A2A, which they are already using it, and they feel more comfortable about using a protocol that already using a gateway that already support those protocols. And the other thing they also highlighted was Agent Gateway was very easy to use, as I was showing, even though what I was showing is only working on my laptop, but it can be running easily in Kubernetes with Kubernetes Gateway API. It can running on bare metal or any other VM. I think that's what we see a lot of user was focusing on is they get the value of what I was trying to show by adding agent gateway in the middle when they are using MCP or A2A or large language model with very minimum overhead and also minimum learning curve because it's very usability is very good. I would say that's probably the main reasons.
Craig, any questions that you have?
This goes back to the very beginning, but I'm curious when you said you were looking at Envoy, and it goes to one of your use cases too, and saying like, Envoy didn't natively support MCP or A2A. What's important about doing that natively from the ground up rather than sort of like a layer on top of Envoy?
That's a great question. I think part of the reason is speed, right? We could spend the time working with the community, add the required extension points, potentially, change some of the architecture to support MCP or A2A. But we felt that would take too long, that we're not talking about weeks of effort. We're talking about months of effort, right? And we actually, after we added A2A and MCP support to Agent Gateway, I think I looked back at the PR and look at how fast we were able to add it. We're talking about like 3 days or a week time frame. And I remember and we had this experience with Istio. The other thing was so we started Istio Ambient. I'm not sure if your audience are familiar. Basically, allow people to run Service Mesh without sidecar. So when we first started Istio Ambient, we chose Envoy to run our Zero Trust tunnel layer, and we find out it was particularly hard. And we had like 3 engineers on the community who knows the Envoy configuration because it was super hard because the Envoy configuration has to figure out, like be able to support HTTP overlay, be able to handle multi-tenancy in a sense because that single Z tunnel handles multiple workloads running on the same node. And it turned out to be the configuration was too hard to understand. Whenever we need troubleshooting, we had to ask only like 2 or 3 developers in the community can troubleshooting, and the velocity of the development was very slow because very few people were able to understand the code and debugging. And we didn't want to, do the same thing again with Agent Gateway with that pain we gone through. So we measured. I believe for MCP or A2A, we were adding like really fast and also like Windows support. Somebody from Microsoft was contributing Windows support for Agent Gateway like within a few days. That's unheard of to add Windows support to Envoy or Istio. I think it might still be an outstanding issue on Istio. I have to double check, but I know it's like a huge project.
Yeah.
And we were able to do it in Agent Gateway like within less than a week. So
makes sense. Yeah. You touched on something else I was curious about, sort of the actual like architecture of the proxy that does the work of the gateway. Is that, one for many MCPs and many LLMs? Or are you deploying sort of like microservice proxies?
Yeah, it's one proxy for all the MCP, which is why I was just showing you. It's just one single binary, one single proxy to running multiplexing for MCP. It could be multiplexing for large language model, and could be both combined. And we support that not only for the standalone, but also within our Kubernetes environment, because a lot of our users are running Kubernetes, right? That's the best way to have their MCP running, leverage everything we learned from Kubernetes. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. So what's the future hold? Just as we wrap up, Lynn, what do you expect the next release? When's the next major release? What kind of features are in your work stream?
That's a great question. We actually release very frequently, believe it or not. We release on a monthly schedule. So the last release, we added like the MCP support, July 28 update. I know we have a bunch of roadmap items. I don't know if it's specifically mapped to a monthly release cadence, mainly because the monthly release is like a very rapid window. And also in the terms of AI, a lot of things moving so fast. It's kind of harder to predict what's going to be released on the monthly. Personally, I would love to see our UI gets a little bit more usable. I actually really love our UI, but some of the usability, I feel it could be slightly enhanced on some of the features. And also, some of the features we which I didn't touch, was auth related features. We recently add ID jack support to Agent Gateway, so it depends on how the auth is evolving. I know it's our goal to keep up with some of the latest auth change on the MCP community, on the Agent Gateway project. So I know we're definitely looking at that. I know the other thing is AAF is looking at adding ACP, Agent Client Protocol. So that's something we are interested to adding support for Agent Gateway whenever that project lands in AAF. A lot of our roadmap are surrounded with, keeping up with the ecosystem, keeping up with the bunch of newly added models, be able to allow like seamless failover between the models, make it more usable, even though our usability is relatively high for a young project. In fact, one of our users made this comment. They find out it was very easy to use and the code was very stable as a relatively young project. We always want to be the best, right? The best performant and the best usable gateway out there.
Awesome. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for joining us. This was fantastic. Craig, thanks for sitting in for Darren. And yeah, if you haven't had a chance, check out Agent Gateway. Sounds like a fantastic project, growing like crazy, and tons of potential for helping you kind of organize the chaos. So, Lynn, thank you for being here, and we'll hopefully see you in Tokyo.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. See you in Tokyo.
Bye, everyone.